snorkeling. And then she dropped the GoPro. And then they broke up. There's Jordan at the wheel. We decided to motor just because there are a lot of shallow reefs out here. Graceful landfall, right there. Hey bud, how's it going?
It's good. So, it is Saturday, April 2nd. This is our third day in the Dry Tortugas. It's been a great stay so far. We were planning on being here for another 2 days, but we had a problem.
Houston, we have a problem.
And we've had our kayak just hanging on a line off the stern of the boat as we've been anchored here at Fort Jefferson. And when I've been charging our batteries with the engine, I like to put the engine in gear astern and just pull against the anchor, because they say that it's bad for a diesel to run without any resistance for long lengths of time. So we had the actual propeller engaged, and everything was going fine for, I mean, we've been doing that for on and off for 2 days now, and today, for some reason, the way that we had the line on the kayak, we had a little too much line out, I guess, and it slowly worked its way down near the prop, and then got hung up on the prop. Engine died, and which wouldn't be a problem normally. I mean, I've had lines wrapped up in just about every prop of every boat I've ever been on, but on this boat, the cutlass bearing is in an exposed tube, or an external tube that comes off of the hull, off of the transom that's under the water. And essentially, when that line got wrapped up on the prop, the buoyancy of the kayak resisted the line pulling around the shaft, so it actually pulled the shaft up, and in doing so, it broke off that tube that comes off of the hull that contains the cutlass bearing. So what that means is we're not taking on any water, because the tube, once broken, the water that gets in is still stopped by the stuffing box, but the prop shaft is no longer supported by the cutlass bearing. So there's a little bit of play, a good inch in either direction of play in the prop shaft now. So we can run the engine. We tested a little while ago, and it definitely can run, but it's not something that we really want to do much of, because it could definitely cause damage. Now we've got the shaft saver connection between the transmission and the shaft, and supposedly that allows for a little bit of flexibility and play, but I mean, it's not something I want to mess with. So we are now weather routing to leave here with the best chance of sailing all the way home to Key West. And I don't know if you can really see this, but this is a slightly outdated graphic on our weather tomorrow. So here you can see the leading edge of a cold front that's coming in. Here we are, just west of the end of the Florida Keys here, that you can see. And we're already experiencing some westerly winds, some light westerly winds, which is to be expected before the front comes. Tomorrow, that front should hit us. It looks fairly weak, winds not exceeding 20 knots, and coming out of the north, which we've got to make our way east. And this time of year, I mean, it's something like 60% of the time we experience easterly winds, maybe even 70%. So this is a perfect opportunity for us to be on a beam reach all the way back to Key West. On top of that, once we reach the Marquesas, we've got a good third of our trip where we are protected to the north, so we won't even experience any of the seas associated with the wind. So all in all, really good. We're planning on leaving tomorrow. As long as this front doesn't get too strong, as long as it is a weak front as these models seem to predict, then we're going to utilize the northerly wind to be able to sail all the way back home without really using the engine too much. So that's how we're planning all of this, and if it turns out just like that, then we're going to be pretty happy. At you just a moment ago, I was like, wow, 18-year-old Jordan would be so happy. I got this girl with salty wet hair in this like loose-fitting onesie thing with no underwear on with a camera in her hand.
Yeah, there you go.
Sailboat.
See? I'm a catch bud. What do you think 18-year-old Jordan would think of you and your adventures today?
Yeah, he'd be pretty much very, very satisfied with it. He'd be a little frustrated that it took me till 28 to start circumnavigating. And I would tell him in response to that, listen, nothing happens overnight. You know, I think that when I was younger, I thought that things could happen a lot faster. So they said tonight the wind will die down from 15 to 20 to be around 15 knots. So tomorrow they're saying northeast 10 to 15 knots, seas 2 to 4 feet, and then Monday night north-northeast 10 to 15. So perfect. That's our weather window. Head back first thing tomorrow morning.
This is the last day of our vacation. It was kind of cut short, and yesterday we watched a front come in. We saw the clouds coming from over there, and then they passed by. So right now it's our first peak of sunlight again. The winds are pretty strong, but hopefully we'll have a good passage out of here. Fingers crossed, everything goes well. Guys, it's our last morning at Fort Jefferson out at the Dry Tortugas, and we're gonna use our engine minimally to get out of here, and then we're gonna sail all the way back. And we had a lot of firsts this trip and a lot of lessons, and now we have a lot to fuel us to keep this refit going so that we can finally begin our circumnavigation really soon. Not too soon, but it's feeling closer and closer, and it's not only scary now, but also really exciting.
Yeah, it's true. We really kind of finally saw why we're doing all of this. We've spent 2 years with a whole lot of difficulty and trying times, and this trip really showed us why we're doing it and what we'll be able to do quite frequently once the boat's totally ready. So I think we both have a renewed resolve to get this boat ready to rock and roll.
And also for me, I have a better understanding of what kind of tasks are necessary. You know, I've always known we'd be sailing, I've always known we'd be living on the boat full time. We already do, but it was really nice to do my first overnight watch and do our first anchoring into an anchorage that we knew nothing about, more or less. First time tying up to a mooring ball out at the Loggerhead Key. They're all easy things that I know how to do, but it was cool doing them with this boat and feeling confident with that. So we're both really excited, and I think the sail back's going to be nice.
Oh.
I'm like a delicate seahorse mermaid.
Yeah, a beached mermaid.